Welcome back. President-elect Biden has named most of the names in his cabinet, but not every agency will have leadership in place next Wednesday. The career employees already in place will have a lot of time and a lot of work to do to wait to get leaders confirmed. Dave Wennergren is Chief Executive Officer for the American Council for Technology and Industry Advisory Council, former Chief Information Officer of the Navy. Dave, it's great to see you again. What's that look like for organizations where actings are in place and career folks really are running the show, in some cases for some extended period of time?
Yeah, it's great to be with you, Francis. It is an important topic to talk about because it can be a long period of time. I mean, regardless of election outcome, a lot of people leave, not only the political appointees, but also career executives. And while, you can see President-elect Biden has chosen the top cabinet officials, there are hundreds, thousands of additional appointees that have to be made. And so this transition period goes on for a long time, and it's really important for career executives who have to hold down the fort and keep the machine running to think about a few things. I would offer, as a starting point for our conversation, that new people are going to show up and they're going to come in with new ideas, and they're not necessarily going to want to keep doing all the things that we're currently doing. And if you're not prepared to help have that conversation about there are some things that we should continue to do because they're hugely important, but we're also willing to accept the fact that we're going to do some additional course changes, then it's going to be a tough transition for you. I would offer as an example, during the Bush administration, we called them e-gov initiatives and lines of business. In the Obama administration, we talked more about shared services. Now we have QSMOs, but this continuing theme about optimizing service delivery is an outcome that's really important to matter. And it's something that we in IAC have done a lot of thinking and writing about this year under our presidential election project, Agenda 2021, where our capstone document is all about delivering outcomes and building trust.
And that delivering outcomes is, I think, maybe the most important theme of all of the themes that we've covered on this program as what will happen in the next, say, month to 90 days. A lot of people use the first 100 days metric for a new presidential administration. That's the key time, isn't it, for career employees to influence where the agency goes for the next 4 years?
Yeah. Absolutely. And I will just say, sometimes it's a dicey proposition if you feel like you're acting and you don't feel like you necessarily have authority or the backing and you don't know these new people yet. But, as they say, nature abhors a vacuum. And so if as the acting leader, you're just sitting still, that's never a good plan. I mean, part of the challenge here is you've got to keep moving the agenda forward, delivering outcomes that matter, because I'll say your track record of delivery will matter a whole lot more and will open the ears of the new incoming people to be willing to listen to you about your advice about what to sustain, what to stop, and what to start.
We've probably seen more technology changes, Dave, over the last year than we've seen in the previous 5 years, all driven by the pandemic, the switch to remote work, all of that. What's the landscape look like to you in 2021? What will these leaders, both the politicals that are coming in and the careers that are staying in place, what will they have to contend with in the next year or so, in your view?
Oh my gosh, it is just this trifecta, right? You have this pandemic. I remember like it was almost yesterday, Friday the 13th in March of last year when we went virtual. And that's like 10 months ago. And while we have visions of vaccines and returning to in-person gatherings in our heads right now, it's still going to be months before we get to that world. So this change to a virtual world has done so much to stir up uncertainty and angst, but to also offer opportunity. I think we should take comfort from the fact that the federal technology business has done a fabulous job of adapting to the use of these new technologies to help keep the mission of government going forward. But if we're not keeping in our heads the uncertainty and the impact that that's having on our workforce, it will require us to have different leadership skills than we might have done otherwise. And it also forces us to think a lot about resiliency. And, I'll say some processes, some jobs, even some organizations really risk the issue of, are they still relevant in this virtual world and the adoption of these new virtual technologies?
You made a list not long ago of some of the technologies that you think will be very prevalent this year. And on that list, you put one that I thought was curious. Crisis management and response doesn't sound to me like a technology thing. Why did you categorize it that way, Dave?
Well, because so much of this has to do with the adoption of new technologies, right? And in a paper-based, labor-intensive kind of world, change doesn't happen quickly. And part of the challenge of learning from the crises that we've faced recently and how to do better with them is how do you use these new technologies that allow you to have better situational awareness, to allow you to use data to forecast and predict, to use evidence-based policy decisions and data to help drive decisions that are fact-based rather than fear-based. All these things come into the play about how do you maintain a resilient organization that can adapt to crises.
Dave Wennergren, thanks very much as always. Great to have you back on the program.
Delighted to be with you, Francis.